In this video, we're going to talk about what it means for points to be collinear or coplanar. And we're going to start by talking about collinear points. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the actual term here. So co refers to together and linear refers to a line. So collinear points are just points that are on the same line. So let's take a look at our example here. We have the same thing built out in brick and drawn. So if you want to see the drawing, it's right there. But our first line here has 3 points on it. Second point has 2. And then we have 3 points that are off the lines. So collinear points are points that are on the same line. So we're going to have 2 separate groups of collinear points here. We have L, E, and R on this same line. So they are one group of collinear points. And then S and B are on the same line, so they are a second separate group of collinear points. And then H, U, and V don't belong to any line, so none of them are collinear to any other points. So I have this written out here. So L, E, and R make one group of collinear points, and then S and B make a second separate group of collinear points. Let's go ahead and take a look at a second example here. So in this example, we have 2 lines that are crossing, and they're crossing at point W. So the way that we handle this is we're going to have 2 groups of collinear points again, and W is going to belong to both of those groups. So L, W, G, and C will be one group of collinear points, and then W will again be in the next group, so W and U will make up a second group of collinear points. So I have all that drawn out and written out here as well. So this is what the diagram looks like when it's drawn out. And then again, L, W, G, and C is one group of collinear points, and then W and U is another group of collinear points. All right, now let's talk about what it means for points to be coplanar. So let's start by looking at that term again. So coplanar. So co refers to together again. Together like it did before, and then planar refers to a plane. So let's go ahead and define what a plane is. A plane is a flat, 2-dimensional surface that goes to infinity in all directions. So drawn out, it would look something like this. Oftentimes it's kind of a square or rectangle, and then you have arrows on it. Sometimes the arrows won't be there. They'll just say that it's a plane, but this is how you represent that it's going to infinity in all directions. The way I like to think about a plane versus a regular shape like a square is that a regular shape has a defined size, plane goes to infinity in all directions, and I think of that as a comparison to a line segment versus a line where a line segment has a defined size, whereas a line goes to infinity in both directions. So I just think that's a kind of way that helps me remember how a plane is different than a regular shape. But yeah, so coplanar points are just points that are on the same plane. So I have an example of a small plane representation here, and we have 4 points in there, and all 4 points are on the same plane. So G, X, W, and D would all form one group of coplanar points. All right, I'm going to pull out a second plane example here. And in this one, again, all the points are on the same plane. So A, Y, K, and F are all a coplanar group. So when you see things drawn out, sometimes you might see these planes above each other, and so they're going to be separate planes here. So all these points stay coplanar to each other. This is one group, and this is the second group. Sometimes you might see the planes crossing, and you'll have to notice in that, this plane would kind of keep going down, and you would see kind of a split here, but this bottom is still just one plane. So K, F, A, and Y would still be coplanar to one another, and then the second group of coplanar points would be that G, X, W, and D. Sometimes the planes might cross, kind of in a diagonal, or maybe they'll meet at a side, but each surface is a separate plane, so the points on each separate plane are what makes them coplanar, be able to group that way. But yeah, so I think those are the main things you'll need to know to be able to understand when points are collinear or coplanar. In our next video, we're going to start talking more about line segments, and we're specifically going to start looking at how we represent and label the lengths of line segments.